that's the rudder. So that turns it. Right, so I can turn it with that, and this puts the sails out. So if you're going downwind, the sails will come out, and then the wind will push it. No, there's no wind. Unfortunately, there's not enough wind at the moment. You can see the flags there are just standing straight down. But
Yeah.
when you're going downwind, you put the sails out and the wind pushes it.
Okay.
When you're coming into the wind, then you pull the sails in and you go on an angle to the wind. So by going on an angle, you're tacking like that.
Yep.
At the moment, see, there's a little bit of wind, so the sails can go out and that'll push it down. But that won't work coming back into the wind. So when I turn it into the wind, for example, I'll have to put the sails in and then we'll have to go an angle. If I had more wind, I could demonstrate it better for you. So the only way to go into the wind is to zigzag. But at the moment, there's not enough wind to demonstrate it properly. There's more wind over there. You can see the flag over that side's blowing. This one isn't, so the wind's on the other side of the lake. That's why I've got the streamer, because the streamer's letting me know which way the wind's blowing. And now I can lean it over a little bit into the wind. See, it's coming, by coming this way at us now, we're on that angle, which is on that tack. But now I'm going to eventually hit the bank if I stay on that tack. I want to get up there, I've got to come on an angle, change the direction to the other side. I haven't really got enough wind at the moment, but basically it'll go into the wind angle. See, it's starting to lean over there now.
Yeah.
So that way I can head into the wind. I'll get over there, there's a bit more wind. So obviously it'll lean over a lot more if there's more pressure on the wind on the sails. But then eventually, so I'd run into the bank over there, so if I'm not trying to get up there somewhere, well then I'll get so far with it like that, and then I'll change tack and come on the other way. And I'll have to zigzag up into the wind. But sometimes the wind is not directly up the lake. Sometimes it's more coming on an angle, so you can get a good tack on one way, but you can't get much on the other. So this way I'm not getting much at all. But once again, the wind's dropped. You can see the two flags on the buoys there. So that's the problem with sailing. You need plenty of wind, and if you get constant wind, then you can do things. But if the wind changes direction, as it does here a lot, then one moment we're going with the wind, and then we're into the wind, and then we're with the wind, and so you're changing things all the time.
Color floating things, what is it called?
Oh, the buoy. They're called a buoy.
What is that for?
Oh, that's just an indicator where the course is, so that we can decide which way we're going to go. The buoys stay where they are, and we'll say, like, for example, we start between the two flags, we go down to number 4, then we go up to the white buoy, and then we come to this buoy, turn around that one, then we go up there around 1, and then around 3, and then back through the line. That's just the course we're on today. But next week, if the wind's blowing the other way, we might go up the course and we'll decide which buoy we're going to go around, and that we'll all agree on that's the course for today, and that's what we'll sail. And those buoys, they're just a koolite, like a ball, and they've got a cable which goes down to a besser brick in the water, down the bottom, and that's why they don't float away. Of course, they're held in that position, but they can move a bit with the wind, but they'll eventually stay where they are approximately. So with these boats, the keel on them is just like that, but a lot of the newer boats, like that one over there, they've got a stem that comes down with like a thing looks like a bomb on the back of it, and sometimes if you're too close to the buoy, the cable that's going down, if it's boat's on an angle, that can get caught on it and it'll get stuck on it. Whereas these will...
It's going faster. It's because of the wind, isn't it? Yeah, nice.
Okay. You had lunch?
So that's a good amount of speed like that. But then coming into the wind, basically, then you're going to lean it over and you're going to take it this way. kind of got enough wind. I'm taking that way quite okay, and I'll try down the other tack.
They're off and running.
So that's basically how they
Yeah,
work.
that's cool.
When I first came down about 5 years ago, I had an electric boat with a motor in it.
Oh, yeah.
And you got motor speed on it, so you've got a throttle. You can make go faster, and it goes pretty fast, about 50 kilometres an hour, bounce across the top of the water. But I was the only one doing that. The rest all had the sailboats, and I thought, I didn't think it was a lot of fun at first when I looked at it. But then I got one, and I think it's the competition of trying to make a decision as to whether you go on that tack or this tack, and what you do and where you position yourself. And there's a lot of thinking in it. I'm here every Friday, just went up and down the lake. I get sick of that after a couple of weeks. But
Yeah, that's
if
true.
you're in a race, then you're trying to achieve something, you know.
It's getting tangled.
When the boats touch each other, there's a sort of a suction, and they tend to stick together.
You're going around in a circle, John.
I know. I'll try and separate it. And that's one of the problems. If you get too close to another boat and you touch up against it, they sort of suck together, and then you can't get them apart for a little while, and then the other person in the race will go past you, and you're stuck there. So yeah, you've got to make sure you don't get too close. Sometimes on the buoy too. This buoy here, I've caught my back stay on a couple of times coming too close to it. So. As soon as you say, oh, we're going to have a race, then the wind drops. It's almost like the wind hears you. So we try not to use that word. But on a very windy day, they almost get out of control. They're going so fast, and the nose, coming down when the nose will want to dig in, and they get quite hard to control. But and a lot of the time we don't get any wind at all. Hey George, boat.
Oops.
He wasn't watching what he was doing, run into the bank. It's made of fiberglass. They're pretty strong. Probably won't break them. And we have a pole in the car, so if we do get caught in the reeds or something, we can push them out.
Oh, okay.
They weigh about 9 kilo. They're reasonably heavy, John. And they're all the same. The guy over there with the blowing of the sails, he made the boats originally.
Oh, okay.
And if there's a problem under the deck with the cables and that run the winches, if that all gets caught up, and we give it to him and he fixes it. I just use this one for my boat. I've got other ones I use for planes. So with the boat, we're only really using those two things. With a plane, you can get all sorts of controls with your ailerons and your flaps, and but the boat only has the sail and that. Yeah. So this is not a boat transmitter. This is just a transmitter, but it's different programs. Basically, it's just on the plane one, just gives you, that's basically your elevator in your plane, and that's your rudder, or your rudder on whatever you set it up, and then you've got all these other things for retractable undercarriages and all that sort of.
Cool.
But the boat, yeah, this is a more expensive transmitter than what you need for a boat. For a boat, you can have a very basic, because it's only two channels. So this is a 6 channel.
Nice.
Yeah, the wind's funny because it'll just change. Like even though the flag's blowing that way on that one, it can be blowing the opposite way on this one.
Yeah,
So
it's
you've got to watch the boat all the time, and just if it starts to slow down, you're thinking, well, why is it slowing down? Is the wind direction changed? And that's why the little stream on the top sometimes gives me that information. See, at the moment I've got the sails out and we're going that way. Before I had the tack that way, so it's changed 180 degrees, and that'll happen in a race too. There used to be about 7 or 8 of us would come every Friday, and now it's just the 3 of us.
oh, okay.
People get older and they can't come, or their wife is sitting sick and old and they can't come. So they were costing a fair bit to make originally, but people have been not using them anymore, and we've been just getting a boat that a person doesn't want, and so we're around about $500. I think when I bought mine, it was probably it needed to be repaired. The Dennis made new sails for me, and I painted the hull and put a few other things on it. So basically, it probably cost me about $600, I suppose.
Oh, okay.
There's a guy came down today and was a bit interested, and so he bought a boat off a guy sitting down there. He's got 2 boats.
Yeah.
He's got that one, but he's got another one home. So see the other guy's going around this afternoon to pick it up. So I think he's sold it for about $500. We just have a number on them. They go up to about number 20 with my I fly model airplanes, and the association I'm in, my registration number is 8019.
Okay.
So when it came, there was a few numbers left, and 19 was one of them. So I just got 19 because all my planes have got 8019 on them. So I thought, oh well, I'll just keep 19. But that one, of course, is I forget what it is. But anyway.
That one doesn't have any number on it.
They're new sales he's made, that's probably why it hasn't. But George's boat, there's got 17 on it.
Oh, okay.
And the number is really just, sometimes when they get close to the buoy down there, you might have 3 or 4 boats all close together, and it's hard to identify which one's yours.
Oh, okay.
And the tip of the sail sticks up, and you can see your boat by the number. Sometimes it gets confusing because a lot of...
Oh.
No, I wasn't watching what I was doing there. So it's just an identification thing for our purpose. It has not much other value than that.
Indication, these marks, these black lines.
Oh no, I think that's the stiff on the sail, I think. Yeah, Dennis makes the sails, he could probably tell you why they do that, but I think it might be a stiff one. My wife's got a Peugeot 308, and the model is called an Allure. Originally my boat, they called Black Douglas, because the guy who owned it, his name was Douglas.
Oh.
So then it was all painted black, so I stripped, and I didn't know what to call it, and because she had a car was called Allure, I thought, oh well, I'll call it that, and then so I put the Peugeot symbol on it. And then when I won a couple of races, then they said, oh, is that, they keep calling it that French boat, so then I put the French flag thing on the flag up the front, and just went with that whole concept. But for some reason my boat goes better in the lighter winds. It's partly because it was one of the first ones made, and the keel is a little bit shorter,
Yeah.
and it has less drag in the light conditions, but it doesn't handle the wind as well. It leans over too much, so it's. Well, it's just something we do on Fridays, so just Friday I go sailing, and Wednesday I fly control line models, and Sundays I fly free flight models, and then I fly indoors sometimes Saturday. So yeah, I've got a few activities that I do. I just like making stuff, and yeah, I just like model things, I guess. The sailing's a bit different to the flying. It's One advantage is you can take your eye off it and run into the bank and there's no problem, but if you're flying a plane you can't take your eye, so it'll
No,
crash.
definitely
within
not,
seconds,
yeah.
And it'll be broken badly. With these things, they're pretty, even though they run into the wall here, they just wipe a bit of paint off of them. Doesn't really break them or split them open or anything. The funny thing is sometimes you'll have two boats very close together, 1 metre apart, and one of them will get the wind and the other one doesn't. But now it's getting a little bit windier and the boats are getting a bit more difficult to control. There are eels in here apparently. So they get the little ducks sometimes, the little ducklings they call them.
I wasn't watching.
Oh no, got stuck on the other side.
She'll come out of there.
There you go. Also the ripples on the water, that's where the wind is. There's not as much wind here,
Yeah.
but you can see how the boat's leading. Yeah. And that's sort of the challenge really, because it's the changing conditions, you've got to adjust to that and what you do. The boats are all fairly similar. It's in terms of who wins a race. I haven't won any today, but he's won two, and the other guy's won once. But I've been leading a couple of times, and you make a bad decision. You think you'll tack this way instead of that way. You get no wind, and you try to come back, and they go past you, and you can't catch up.